Hello, everybody, and welcome to Force Comic News, episode 41. So, Mike isn't around, but I wanted to do an episode anyways. I had a great guest lined up. He's going to be at the tail end of this, but I want to do a quick intro. So, we're here, episode 41. I'm not going to do a whole lot of news, so I want to wait for Mike to come back to talk about news. But I just wanted to give you guys kind of the 411 what's going on. So if you've gone to fortresscomicnews.com, you know that things have changed a little bit. Lots going off in that front homepage. A lot more content. I'm in talks with a few people to do a few new things that are in the echelon of what we're doing here. Trying to keep more content flowing, so you guys are coming to us more and more and more. So basically, if you're if you're a comic fan and you're watching this or listening to this, thanks for watching, thanks for listening. I hope you guys keep coming back. If you are a comic creator, email us, fortresscomicnews.com, fortresscomicnews@gmail.com, and we're always looking to do more stuff with comic creators, and I want to try to push more with comic creators. We're doing a lot with some of our friends here, people we've gotten to know through the show and through the website, like our buddy there, Travis Holyfield, getting street clothes out there. He's been on the show a couple times. We've done reviews of his books. We've done a few different things with him. And guys, check that out once he gets it up online. But that's really what we're trying to do here. So, like I said, enjoy the interview. It's going to be right after this. It's probably going to be a quick episode this week. I apologize. But like I said, Mike's out of town, and I had a great guest lined up. And I didn't want to push him again, because he did have to get pushed originally for a family issue I had. So enjoy the interview, and we will hopefully see you all next week. Thanks. All right, everybody. We have here with us special guest Russel Brettholtz from it's Darby Pop. Yes, with the awesome book Sidekicked. So how you doing today, Russell?
I'm doing great, Chris. Thanks.
So, we met at the con, and your book immediately popped out to me, and you told me the premise, and I just instantly clicked with me. I was like, well, I'm buying this immediately. So why don't you give everybody the same kind of quick speech you gave me during the con?
Sure. So Sidekicked is about superhero sidekicks who get sick and tired of being disrespected by the heroes that they work for, so they go on strike.
That's about it. Yeah, I love in the book, like, the sidekicks are treated as, like, just basically second-class citizens. Like, clean up the rubble while I beat the crap out of the supervillain throughout it.
Exactly.
And we get a lot of cool scenes of, like, just basically the start of a sidekick union.
That's what I was shooting for. Without getting too political, I did want it to be, a story about labor.
Yeah. And I think you pulled it off, especially inside this kind of universe. So where did the story come from?
So I was working as the assistant to a financial planner. And most of my job, is kind of clerical stuff, maintaining the database, the paperwork, keeping everything straight. But the most important part of my job was fixing the mistakes of the financial planner that I worked for. And I kept asking to be put on a promotional track so that I could one day be a financial planner myself. And for some reason that did not sit well with him, and I got fired for no particular reason that I could figure out. And it was a good lesson about the arrogance of power. And I thought, there's a story here. I've been reading comic books since I was 8 years old. And I thought, there's a story. And I think that it would probably appeal to lots of people who have jobs that were similar to mine. Immediately that came to mind were nurses who work for doctors, paralegals who work for lawyers, secretaries who work for, executives at companies. So I thought, here's a universal theme, and how do I turn it into a good story? And I thought, it's the sidekick superhero dynamic.
Yeah, and you pulled it off. It was the best compliment I can give the book is it was one of those books where I sat down. I was like, I got to read this before our interview, and obviously our interview was happening later, and we wanted it to initially. So I got to sit down and read this. I have a couple weeks, but I sat down, I read it, and just went through it in one sitting.
That's great. And
that's, to me, like, the ultimate compliment. Like, if I can't put it down to the point where I have to finish it, then I really liked it.
Yeah, that's always good to hear, too.
So, there were, obviously there's other people at Darby Pop. How did you get in with these guys and get the book published through them?
Sure. So, just right off the bat, Jeff Klein and Renee Geerlings are really running the show over there. And they're great people to work with. Darby Pop is a great company to have my book at. The way they found me is I had to run a Kickstarter campaign in order to raise the money to pay my art team for the book. And while I was running the campaign, one of their editors saw it on Kickstarter and contacted me and said, hey, I'm an editor at Darby Pop and we'd be interested in publishing your book once it was finished. Can we talk? And for anybody who's run a Kickstarter campaign, you get like one of those a day, a message like that, somebody saying, hey, I have a publishing company, we like your book. But they were very, very different from the noise that you usually get, because Jeff Klein is an Emmy Award-winning producer of children's animation. He, is an editor for Top Cow. So, these are people who know what they're doing. They're at the top of their game. This wasn't, some person who is just running, something out of their basement and saying, hey, give me your book so that I can put my publishing logo on there and you can make me famous. Really, they were the professionals and I was the schmo working out of my office who didn't have any credits to my name prior to this. So it was a real, shot in the dark for them to take a chance on me based on nothing more than a couple $1,000s that had been pledged on Kickstarter and 4 complete pages and a cover. So I consider myself very lucky that they found me, but I like to think that we've brought mutual success at this point, given that Sidekick has now sold out of its first printing.
Oh, that's awesome. So is there plans to do future printings of the book?
Yep, the second printing, it's actually called Volume 1.5, just hit bookstores 2 weeks ago, or maybe it was last week. Timing during the summer gets a little fuzzy, but
I hear you there.
They added a couple of pages of bonus material, and by a couple, I think it was over 20, because they did Darby Pop does a breaking into comics contest every year for the last 3 years. Test was Sidekick centric, and they had people submitting stories and artwork for what would become 2 11-page stories, and both of those 11-page stories were included as backup content in the re-release, so in the second printing, and those came out great. I love the look of those stories. I like that the book is now a little bit thicker, because the first volume of Sidekick is only 4 issues long, which when you pick up a trade, it looks a little thin. So now it's a little beefed up. I feel a little better asking people for money for it.
Yeah. So I don't know if you've announced anything or not, but the book definitely ends on a huge cliffhanger. So
it does. Yeah.
So my 2 questions here are: 1, is there a sequel to this coming out? And then 2, if not, what else do you have going on right now that you're working on for these guys? Or anybody?
Okay, well, 1, for your listeners who have not read it, I don't want them to think that the cliffhanger makes it impossible to read and enjoy the story but on its own.
No. You are correct there.
But Yeah, but I did want something. I did want to leave readers with a little taste of, hey, if we do well enough, and if this sells well enough, and if people enjoy it enough, well, here's a little taste of what might come. And clearly, with the selling out of the first printing, that has proven to be true. So I am currently working on a sequel. I'm about halfway through writing it. It's going to be 5 issues this time around instead of the original volumes 4. So mostly it's just on me to get that writing done. But hopefully sometime in 2018, the artwork will be complete. Provided I can get the rest of the script written, but I think that's all very doable. And I know Darby Pop is excited for a sequel, so I know that the fans, because the book's been out for almost 2 years, because it dropped in October 2 years ago, and so I'll see fans come back to the Darby Pop booth and say, "Hey, I really enjoyed that. I got it last year. Is there a sequel?" So clearly there is somewhat of a demand for it. So it's on me. I need to buckle down and get that done.
So I would assume there that this isn't your main gig right now then.
Oh God, no. There's for anybody who wants to break into comic books, there's no money in it. No, I have a day job. I work 40 hours a week, sometimes a little bit more. I'm married. I have 2 little girls. I have a dog. That takes up the majority of my time. If I can scrape together 2 hours a night to sit down and maybe eke out a page or 2, I consider myself lucky.
Oh man, you can find 2 hours a night? You are lucky.
If I can. And that's if I don't watch, the latest episode of Game of Thrones or Preacher or Orphan Black, which, as much as I love, thank God it's ending because I need my Saturday nights back.
I know you're feeling there. It seems like my extra time is spent watching, what's that show? PJ Mask.
Oh, yep. One of my daughters absolutely loves that. I still don't understand where the kids find the money for all their gadgets, and if they're out all night fighting crime, when do they sleep?
That's the question, man. I sit there and I watch these shows. I'm just like, what the heck's going on? Like, where are these kids getting all this? I wish I had this much ambition when I was that young.
Yeah, no, that's actually my favorite. My favorite hobby is overanalyzing children's programming.
Oh yeah. So you said expect the book probably next year sometime. Is there?
That's the goal.
That's the goal. Is that going to go up on Kickstarter again, or are you in with Darby enough where they're just going to flip the bill?
Well, Darby Pop is all of their books are creator owned. So if I want to maintain, the full rights to the intellectual property that I created, I have to foot the bill for all of the artwork. Okay. I don't want to make it so. I mean, I get a lot from them. I get for anybody who's ever written a script. Just having a good editor, not even an editor, but a good editor, makes the difference between, a steaming pile of garbage and excellence. So I do get a lot from them. Not to mention, I could never get my book into stores myself. That's a very difficult thing. So having Darby Pop run the marketing and run the distribution and everything that goes through the editing and the publishing, me not having to do that is great. But it does mean I have to come up with the roughly $4,000 per issue for the artwork. So yeah, we are going to be going back to Kickstarter. I need to have the whole thing written first. And then I'll have probably another 5 or 6 test pages done on my own dime, just for proof of concept, and then we'll go to Kickstarter.
Cool. So, any other? Did you have any other books out other than Sidekicked, or Sidekicked? No, this was actually my very first book. Okay. I had been writing fan fiction throughout high school and college, and so I just turned 40. So just for frame of reference, I graduated college in 1999 when the internet was only sort of a thing, and I was on a website
place if you were a comic book fan. There were a lot of creators on that site as well, and one of whom was Gail Simone. And Gail would go on and she would have, kind of an Ask Me Anything, like Reddit does now. And one of the most common questions she got was, what should I be doing to break into the industry? And she straight up said, number one, stop writing fan fiction, which, is precisely what I had been doing. Said, no, write something for yourself, because the fan fiction's not helping you. It's just, you're getting slogged down in other people's work. And if you want to produce something, then it needs to be yours. So I immediately started, studying actual comic book scripts, trying to come up with a good idea. And then a few years later, when I was fired and I had the story, I said, this is it. Because I went into my big, I have a notebook, probably like most creative types. You have a notebook filled with ideas, robots versus vampires versus the undead. And then, that's it. That just takes up a line, and then you move on to the next thing. Somebody who's really good at those toy grabby machines gets caught up in an international drug cartel, like stupid ideas like that. And you just have a notebook filled with them. So when I eventually decided I want to be doing something, I opened up the notebook, and there was the idea for the Sidekicks going on strike, and said, nope, this is the one. This is the book that needs to be made, and this is the book that I'm going to dedicate my time to. And it was a labor of love. It was a big process, because getting, the art team together. The first issue was done mostly by myself before Darby Pop came in, so there was a big learning curve on my part, and so it took a couple of years. But then once it was done, it felt great. But yeah, and just how exciting for my very first book is the one that gets picked up, and I'm having so much success with. So that it's a really good feeling.
That's awesome. So, for everyone out there that wants to get a hold of the book or follow you, where can they do those things?
Okay, so probably the easiest way to get the book is either on darbypop.com, or you can go to Amazon. There's actually, if you put in Sidekicked, and there's actually a hyphen between the side and the kicked, you'll actually find there will be two on Amazon. One is the volume 1, which I believe Amazon has literally one copy left, and that's probably the only copy left in the world. So if you want to go grab the very, very last copy of the first printing, you can get that. And then the volume 1.5 is also on Amazon and on darbypop.com. If you would like to reach me, we do have a Facebook page. You can search for Sidekicked Comics. And you can also follow me on Twitter. It's at Sidekicked Comics, except instead of it ending in a CS, you end it with an X.
All right. And for any of our retailer friends out there, is Darby Pop something they can order through Diamond or?
Absolutely, yep. And if I was smart, I'd have the Diamond order code for next to me, because I know the volume 1.5. It's probably like a JUL 17 and then something. If I was smart, I would have had that written down. But yes, absolutely, Diamond can order, or the retailers can order through Diamond. So
anybody out there that has a local shop they go to, ask them to order it for them before you go to Amazon, because either way, these guys make out. So thanks so much for being on. When the Kickstarter goes up, I'll probably be contacting you again. We got to have you back on, because I know Mike was mad that he's missing this interview.
No, well, thank you, Chris. I enjoyed this, and I appreciate it.
Yep. So everybody check out Sidekicked from Darby Pop Publishing, and once again, thanks for being on, and everybody, thanks for listening.
Thank you.